and Wellbeing Workshop about emotional freedom technique, or EFT, which is, obviously about a mind-body approach, which is the topic this year. So thank you everybody for joining. My name is Sandy and I'm an EFT practitioner and EFT trainer. I've been working with EFT for over 15 years and I've seen the most amazing changes in myself and in people and, the people I work with. So it is a wonderful tool, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to tell you more about it, to give you an experience. So we'll do some tapping. So let's get started. Okay, so just a quick overview what we're going to cover today. So you might think emotional freedom technique, but why focus on emotions? Well, I'll say a few things about that. And I'll also give you a very brief introduction to EFT, because there might be some people here who are new to this, and I just want to spend a few minutes on explaining a little bit what it is and how it works. But then most of the time I hope to spend on actual tapping, where I take you through at least 2 different sample sequences so you get an experience and see whether that works for you, whether you experience any changes. And then towards the end, I'll also tell you how to use EFT to change your story, the stories we're telling ourselves and others about our lives. If it's an unhelpful story, like I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm always doing this, sometimes we can stuck in a pattern, and we can actually use EFT to change that. And then at the end, I'll give you a couple of suggestions / summary of what we've covered, and then, some tips on how to use EFT in daily life to increase your well-being and build your resilience. Right. Okay. So we've got about 20 people. Hello, everyone. Can I just ask a very quick question? If you are new to, just a yes, no question. Have you done or heard, or do you know anything about EFT? Either yes or no. Can you just put it in the chat so I get a bit of an idea? No. Yes. Okay. Very little. Yes. So we've got a few people who know about EFT, quite a few who don't. So you're all in the right place, because I will give an introduction, but we'll also take you through the experience. So if you already know a lot about it, then, you can zone out for the first 5 minutes if you like, when I tell you a bit about the background. But hopefully, if not, it's all get very easy, very simple. So, okay, well, thank you everyone for letting me know about your experience. Okay, so why focus on emotions? If you think about the word emotion, emotion, if you think the E stands for energy, energy in motion. So our emotions are energy in motion. Because if you think about an intense negative feeling, think about anger, for example. Have you ever been really angry? And can you remember what that felt like? Or can you remember seeing somebody who was really angry? Or maybe you've observed somebody, an argument, like somebody over the road, 2 people having an argument. You can see the body being tense. Or if you can feel the anger in yourself, or if you've been angry, then, it's quite a powerful emotion. So there is a lot of energy around that, and that sits in our body. And those negative thoughts and feelings in our body, they cause stress. They put us into fight or flight mode. They release cortisol in our body and adrenaline. So there's all these things happening in the body. So we cannot actually be well or have like lots of well-being or build resilience if we're stuck in a negative emotional state. So EFT, or emotional freedom technique, is actually a safe way to release these negative emotions. So I'll show you exactly how that works. Right. So just another word on why focusing on emotions. So sometimes past events, especially past negative events, can stop us from moving forward. And we are not necessarily aware of that. These things can happen like subconsciously because our brain is basically designed to keep us safe. And emotions from a negative event in the past can get stored in our energy system. So, for example, if at imagine as a child you were in the classroom and the teacher singled you out, asked you a question, and you didn't know the answer. And that in that moment, a child can feel like, oh my God, feeling terrified, feeling embarrassed. Maybe classmates were laughing. Maybe the teacher was, making a comment. In that moment, we are in fight or flight. For that little child, that's like a mini traumatic moment. And then if in the future that gets stored in our energy system, because our brain is like, oh, that wasn't fun. We'll try to avoid similar situations in the future. And if we have several of those events, that can actually lead to fear of public speaking. So if we are in a similar situation, even as an adult, and don't even remember these events from the past, imagine somebody asks you to give a presentation at work or for a job interview or a speech at a wedding. Our alarm bells might go off and maybe we experience hesitation or fear, or we procrastinate, or we try to avoid it. It's like, oh, no, I can't do that. But we don't necessarily know why. Well, the reason is because we will have negative events from the past and the energy is still in our system. It's stored somewhere in our system, in our brain, in our amygdala. So the brain goes like, hang on, I've been in a situation with like public speaking, and that was not fun. That did not feel safe. So the alarm bells go off again, and we feel that hesitation, that fear, that, oh, no, that instinct to run away. So if we clear the emotions stored from that previous event, we can reestablish our well-being and resilience and feel more comfortable. We can then actually move forward. Or imagine there is like a new colleague at work that you've never met before, but you don't get on with them. There's something about them. They remind you of someone from your past. And maybe you were bullied at school, or remind you of somebody who was not nice to you in the past. That person has never done anything, but we might still feel, a negative feeling towards that person, not because of them, but because of our energy, because that person might be a trigger. So with EFT, we can clear that. So you can see like negative emotions and past events can actually stop us moving forward. But past events should not predict the outcome of future events. So by learning to use EFT to clear some of those emotions from the past, we have a clean slate again, and we can move forward and, at least be neutral about that new colleague at work or about something we're being asked to do. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. By the way, I will keep an eye on the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to put a question in the chat and I will try and answer that. Right, so here's a little visual. So basically, negative memories or thought patterns can disrupt our energy system. So imagine you are telling a friend about an argument you had with somebody last week, a family member, a colleague, or somebody you know, a friend. So that event happened last week. But if you tell your friend about it because you haven't spoken to them, in that moment, that emotion might come up again and say, oh my God, and she said it, and then he did that. And you can feel that in that moment, can't you? Because if you activate a distressing memory, the emotion comes back up, and that makes us feel that negative emotion like it was just 5 minutes ago, even though it was a week ago or a month ago or a year ago. That emotion comes back up. So With EFT, we can actually clear the emotion so that we have a bit more of a neutral way forward and that we can increase our well-being. Because with all that negativity stuck in our energy system, it's very hard to build resilience and to feel well emotionally and physically and mentally. Right, so what EFT does, because tapping means so we tap with our fingers on certain meridian points. So we actually direct kinetic energy into our energy system. And then because we focus on a specific target or specific emotion, we clear it. And then we are neutral again. So then we can maybe talk about a negative event from the past without getting the emotional response that we had at the time, because something that happened in the past should not keep haunting us. But it does. I'm sure we all have moments in our time that remember in the past when we felt embarrassed, we had a shock, we got some bad news. And if we think about it now, that same emotion might still come up. So with emotional freedom technique, we can gain freedom from those negative emotions. Okay, so to give you a little visual, so how EFT works. So the body has an energy circulation system similar to the blood circulation system. So there are about 12 meridians, as you can see in that picture, 12 meridian channels, like these energy channels in our body. And that's based on the traditional Chinese medicine. So if you've heard of acupuncture, acupressure, so there an acupuncturist uses all of these points, the little dots on the picture. But with EFT, we just use some of those meridian points, the tapping points. So they are energy points on that circulation system. And with EFT, we use the end points of the meridians that help rebalance and clear the body's energy system. So they are closest under the skin. An acupuncturist uses needles to maybe go a little bit deeper, but with the end meridian points, many of them are around the head. Then we use our fingers to tap on them to stimulate those points. And at the same time, we also verbalize our feelings. So it's body and mind working together. And that's why EFT is so powerful. So if anybody asks you, like, what is this funny EFT thing? You can say, well, it's a bit like acupuncture for emotions, but with no needles. Yay. Many people like needles. Right. Okay. So EFT can be helpful for almost everything that's emotional. But just to give you a few examples, it can help to switch off our fight or flight mode and therefore improve our overall health. So when we're really stressed about something, these days we don't have real life-threatening situations, many of them in the Western world, but we can still get stressed by things like work. We might be worried about our finances, about the future, about a family member, and all these worries and that overwhelm and the stress puts us into fight or flight mode. And then a lot of chemistry is happening in the body. I don't want to go into all the details. I want to get a bit more practical in a minute. But we can switch off that fight or flight mode, reduce stress. And when we calm the body and the mind, we can then increase our well-being and build resilience. So we can reduce feelings of stress, anxiety, even pain, or at least the suffering part of pain. We can reduce fear, like fear of public speaking, fear of certain things. But EFT can do more than that. It can also help us change perspective. Because when we're really stressed and in fight or flight mode, we basically have a bit like a tunnel vision. Because when we're really stressed, we just, oh, I need to get this done. Or when we're really angry, for example, if you've ever been in an argument, you might have said or done things you didn't mean to, that you regretted later because we had that tunnel vision. But if we can use EFT to release the emotions, we're sort of opening up our perspective. We can gain perspective, change our perspective, let go of blocks, and then we are able to also find solutions to a problem. And if we let go of all the daily stresses and worries at the end of the day, we can even improve our sleep. EFT also works wonderfully with handling cravings. So if you're always craving that little biscuit with your tea or crisps or chocolate, I've done, group sessions on cravings where everybody brought something different. And then within 5 or 10 minutes, they just didn't want it anymore. So that was really, really powerful. But I do that in an online training that I'll tell you more about at the end. Yeah, so we can handle cravings, improve sleep, change perspective, release unpleasant emotions around memories or events from the past. We can get unstuck because negative memories can keep us stuck and prevent us from moving forward. And we can also change limiting beliefs and the stories we tell ourselves, like, oh, I always do that, or I'm not good enough, or I can't do that, or things like I'm not good at this or that. All these things we tell ourselves can also be changed with a simple tool like tapping. I'm sure you can tell I'm very excited about tapping because I love it. It's my absolute favorite tool. And I'm so grateful that I can share it with you here. Okay, so let's move on. Before we actually start the tapping, I want to introduce you to another little technique, and that's a breathing technique. So it goes hand in hand with EFT, but also it's like a little safety net. So this breathing technique is called heart math breathing. So there's actually an institute called Heart Math Institute. So it's the mathematics of the heartbeat. And they have developed that heart math breathing. It's a scientific breathing method. So you can Google it if you're interested about it. Maybe not right now, maybe after the workshop. So the idea is that we breathe in and count to 6 and breathe out and count to 6. And we do that several times. At the same time, we put our hands maybe on our heart to feel our heart, or maybe one hand on our tummy to feel the movement of the breath. And that's so we do the counting, we do the sort of almost giving ourselves a little hug, our hands on our heart, step 2. And step 3 is to focus on a positive emotion like gratitude or love or appreciation, like, somebody you love, like a family member or a pet or a friend, or it could be appreciation of nature, of sunshine, of, having a home or whatever it might be. And that breathing helps to reduce an emotional impact, like a high emotion, and it helps to create calmness. So it is very, very useful. And I want to do it with you. And basically, this is the safety net, because when we do EFT, sometimes, in order to be free from the emotions, we need to feel the emotion. And sometimes when emotions come up, if we have buried something for a while, we can get a little bit emotional. And I want to make sure that everybody in this workshop is absolutely safe, because it's online. I'm not there with you in person. So if for any reason, next when we do the tapping, you get a bit too emotional and you're not really sure what to do, we can do that. You can stop and do that breathing. Okay, so that's the reason I teach this. But basically, by itself, it's also a fantastic tool to increase well-being and build resilience, because it helps you to calm yourself down in a situation where you might be nervous or stressed or overwhelmed. Okay, so I want you to do this with me. Little disclaimer, only do the breathing with me now. If you are in an appropriate environment, if you are driving or you are somewhere where you need to maintain concentration, then please do this later because the breathing has a calming effect. So just make sure you're safe. Okay? Right. So if you're ready, put your hands either both on your heart or one on your heart and one on your belly so that you feel the movement. That alone has a calming effect as well. And then when you're ready, think of something quickly, someone you love, something you appreciate, like it could be nature, love of a person, a pet, a circumstance, anything you're grateful for. Just quickly take a moment to consider something that you could focus on that gives you a feeling of gratitude, love, or appreciation. Just pick something. Okay. And then when you're ready, let's breathe in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And one more. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay, I hope you found this nice, maybe a little bit relaxing. We've just done a few breaths. So again, the aim is for you to have a tool that helps you create calmness whenever you need it in daily life, but also for this session, just in case when we tap, you tap into something that brings up an intense feeling. Doesn't happen very often, but just in case. Right. Okay, any questions so far about EFT or heart mouth breathing? Okay, nothing in the chat from what I can see. Okay, then let's move on. Right, so I will introduce now the EFT tapping points and explain the procedure, the basic recipe. So let's start with the tapping points. There are about 12 to 14 different points. The first one is at the top of the head. So if you tap just with 1 or 2 fingers at the top of the head, so not the front, not the back, just somewhere in the middle of the head. It's not very visible from the picture. It's not here, it's sort of at the top of the head. 1 or 2 fingers, and we tap very lightly. You don't want to give yourself a headache. If you do have a headache and it feels uncomfortable, you can skip any of those points. The lovely thing with EFT is you can't really do it wrong. So if you forget, if you do it later by yourself and you forget one of the points, it still works, okay? So it's a very, very forgiving technique. Right, so top of the head. Then actually I'm going to take my glasses off. Then we've got the eyebrow point. So at the beginning of the eyebrow, just where the eyebrow starts, tap there with your fingers just a few times, and then we move to the side of the eye. So basically just in line, just next to the eye. Make sure you don't poke yourself. And then it's basically under the eye. So on the cheekbone, just underneath the eye. And it doesn't matter whether you use your left hand or your right hand. Some people actually use both hands. You can do that. It's a circular system. It doesn't matter. I just use one hand mostly. So we've got top of the head, eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, and then under the lips. That's where that little indent is. And then we've got the collarbone point. So at the bottom of your throat, just down like an inch and to the side. It's just right under that collarbone. And it's on both sides. So you can tap on both sides, like I said. Or with this one, what I sometimes do is I use my hand like this. And then you can actually tap on both points simultaneously, if you like. Or you can just use the one, doesn't matter. Okay, the next one is under the arm, under the armpit. So it's a couple of inches under the armpit. For ladies, it's more or less where your bra goes. We tap under the arm. Again, if that's uncomfortable, you can skip that point, okay? Or if you know you have a problem with your arm, if you have an injury or something with your shoulder, you can skip the point. It doesn't matter. Okay, and then we've got our finger points. So palm facing towards us, and we want to tap on the side of the nail bed. So not on the top, we're not doing the top, we're doing the side. So if you hold your hand to the side like this, and then you tap the side. So not here, but here, all 5 fingers. So that would be 1 round. So we usually combine that with a reminder phrase, and I'll explain that in a moment. But we tap all the points the way through, while at the same time focusing on a particular emotion that we want to free ourselves of. Okay, under the arm, and then we've got the 5 finger points. And usually we say a little phrase, this anger, I'm so angry, something like that. Give you an example. Okay, so that would be a tapping round. Then on the side of the hand, there is another point here, the side of the hand point, as you can see in that picture. So here, for this point, we use something called a setup statement. So the setup statement is we name the problem and we follow it with an acceptance statement. So you might say, even though I'm really stressed about this upcoming project at work, I accept myself and I'm okay. Or you can say, I love and accept myself. Or I choose to love and accept myself. I'm open to loving and accepting myself. If that love part is a problem, for some people it is, you don't have to say it, and just say, I accept myself and I accept the situation, or I accept myself and I'm okay. Okay, so it doesn't really, the words are not so important, it's more like the meaning. So we name this, even though I'm really nervous about this upcoming presentation, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I've got this knot in my stomach, when I think about this problem or this upcoming situation, I accept myself and I'm okay. Because we can only move forward and let go of an emotion if we accept it. Because if we're in denial and we're not even realizing or noticing that we have a problem, then it's very hard to let go of it, isn't it? So it's important with the setup statement to say, even though I have this problem, yes, I acknowledge it, but I accept where I am. And if I'm accepting where I am, then I can change it. So that's an important part of EFT. Okay, so that's the setup statement, and then this tapping sequence is going through the points or focusing on an emotion or a problem, and then we tune in again, and then we do another sequence. Okay, so that's basically EFT in a nutshell. Now, let's actually do it, unless there are any questions. Any questions? Maybe they come up and we actually do it. Right. Practice 1, constricted breathing. Right. Now, actually, before we do this, I just want to say our breath is very closely connected to our emotions. And when we have a lot of stress in our lives, or we feel very anxious, or we are nervous, we often have very shallow breathing and we don't even notice this. So these days, you know, many people have a very shallow breath and don't really use the whole capacity of their lungs. If you think how big our lungs are, they go all the way down to our back and they can even expand. But with short breaths and shallow breathing, you know, our body doesn't really get all the oxygen and all the energy it needs. And sometimes when people say, well, I feel very tired and very lethargic, it's like, are you breathing properly? Breathing is very important. And guess what? You can actually improve your breathing with EFT by letting go of any constrictions you may have. Right. Okay, I've just seen there is a question. Thank you. Do we make our own statements or are there particular ones we have to use? Well, you make your own statements. So in this session today, I will give you some examples, but in the future, if you want to use EFT by yourself, you make up your own statements because you want to work on something that you want to let go of. So that's why I'm giving you the recipe. With the setup statements is like, even though I feel this, I have this problem, I'm afraid of XYZ, any sort of negative thing, I accept myself and I'm okay. So you name the problem and you have an acceptance statement. But you can change the words. As long as you name the problem and accept it, you're fine. I hope that answers your question. Right. Okay. Right, so that is the basic of EFT. And don't worry if you've just come in, I will still guide you through the whole process because we're going to do this together. If you just come in, then you are right on time for the practical part of the session. Okay, so constricted breathing. So before we start tapping, obviously we want to measure. With EFT, we always measure before and after to see if there's any change. So what I'd like you to do is take 3 deep, slow breaths and then measure the third one in terms of your perceived capacity, your lung capacity out of 100. Okay, so take deep breath. You don't need to count. It's not the hard mouth breathing from before. Just take 3 deep breaths. And with the third one, just think just how much, what's the capacity? Are you at 60%? Are you at 90%? You know, it's perceived. You don't know for sure. Right. Okay, so I feel a bit of a tightness in my chest. So I would say for myself, my own perceived capacity of breathing is at the moment, I would say 70%. So hopefully that will change after the tapping, but give yourself a number. If you have a piece of paper and a pen, maybe write it down so you don't have to remember it, or if not, make a mental note. But even if you don't write it down, I'm sure you'll be able to remember one number. So that's like a percentage. Okay, now what we're going to do is the tapping. Okay, and remember, if an emotion comes up, we just stop. And if you get too emotional, if you have some emotions coming up, that's good because we're tapping and we're releasing them. But if you feel really like about to cry or to feel really, really intense emotions, then just stop. Either keep tapping and see if it clears, or stop and then just do some deep breathing, like into 6 and out to 6. Or if that feels too much, you can into 5, out to 5, or into 4, out to 4. The numbers doesn't really matter. As long as you count, give yourself a specific pace and just do like a minute of breathing and then your emotions will come down if you find it scary. But you can just keep tapping and that will help as well. Okay, let's start with the practice. So basically, just repeat after me. So I will make these statements and they are global. So you can change anything that if it doesn't feel right for you, but this is just an example to give you an experience of EFT. And after this first demonstration, we'll work on a specific emotion. But quite a few of you are new, so I want to actually make sure you really understand how it works. Right. Okay, and you can repeat after me, basically copy me, repeat after me, and you can say the words out loud if you're in a safe environment. If it feels uncomfortable, you can think them, but generally it works better if you say the words out loud, if you're by yourself. I mean, if you're in a room full of people, maybe not, unless they're all tapping along as well. Right. Okay, let's start tapping on the side of the hand. And we start with the setup statement. So naming a situation and accepting it. Okay, so even though it is possible to breathe more fully, repeat, I accept myself just as I am. Repeat. Okay. right? Even though my breathing feels restricted, I accept myself and I'm okay. We repeat the setup statements always a few times with slightly different words, perhaps to tune in. And by the way, while we're tapping, just sort of try to focus a little bit on your breathing if you felt like a tightness in your chest or not on your stomach. Okay, right, still on the side of the hand. Even though it is possible to breathe more fully, but my breathing feels restricted, I accept myself and I'm okay. Right. Okay, then we do the first round. Start on the top of the head and just repeat after me. My breathing is shallow. Eyebrow. I can't breathe fully. Side of the eye. My breathing feels restricted. Under the eye. I'm not breathing fully. Under the nose. This tightness in my chest. Or if you felt something different, you can change that. This tightness in my chest, or this knot on my stomach, or this restricted breathing. Okay. Under the lips, I'm not breathing at full capacity. Okay. Collarbone point, but my breathing feels restricted. Under the arm, it's difficult to relax like this. And finger points, thumb. It's hard to breathe fully with all these emotions. Next finger. This feeling of constricted breathing. Little finger. All this constriction in my body. Little finger. Letting go of this tightness. And then the little finger. Allowing myself to breathe more fully. Okay, we're just going to repeat that, do another round. Okay, back to top of the head. My breathing is shallow. Eyebrow. I can't breathe fully. Out of the eye. My breathing feels restricted. Under the eye. I'm not breathing fully. Under the nose. This tightness in my chest. Under the lips. I'm not breathing at full capacity. Collarbone. My breathing feels constricted. Under the arm. It is difficult to relax like this. Finger points starting with the thumb. It's hard to breathe fully with all these emotions. Next finger. This feeling of constricted breathing. Finger. All this constriction in my body. Little finger. Letting go of this tightness. Little finger. I'm allowing myself to breathe more fully now. Okay, let's just take one deep breath and let it go. Another deep breath and let it go. Okay, I hope everybody's okay. Oh, you're still with me? Okay, now That was just one little mini round to just give you an experience of EFT. Now, what I'd like you to do is to take again 3 deep breaths, deep, slow breath, and then measure the third breath in terms of capacity out of 100. Okay, so let's take a deep breath. It doesn't matter whether you breathe through your mouth or through your nose. Just do it the same like you did before. And then your third breath. Have you measured it in terms of your capacity? Mine's actually changed. That tightness in my chest sort of feels a lot looser now. I feel like I'm more expansive. So personally, I feel I've gone from a 70 to a 90. So has your capacity changed? I'm quite curious about that. Don't worry if it hasn't. That was just like a half a sequence, like just one out of 2 sequences. So can you put your before and after number in the chat? So if it was like me, I would put what, 70, 90. Okay, 75 to 90, 65, 85, 70 to 75, 45 to 80. Wow. 80 to 90, 65 to 75, 60 to 70. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Right. And by the way, if you were at 100, oh, 60 to 90, fantastic. If you were at 100 before, you can actually go to 120, because if you think our lungs, they do expand. Okay. So it looks like for most people, it's gone up a bit. Sometimes we might just experience a bit of relaxation from the tapping and the breathing. That's fine too. But bear in mind, we didn't do like a full session on breathing. When I work with somebody, like a full session would be at least 10 minutes of tapping, maybe just on the breathing and getting that change and that ball rolling. Okay, so don't worry if things haven't changed, but if they have, isn't that wonderful? Like in the space of less than 5 minutes, you've managed to expand your breathing. And with your breathing, you've expanded your sense of well-being, hopefully, your body getting more oxygen. So like I said, but yeah, breathing is really important. So I do recommend that as a little daily practice, actually, just to work on your breath and be aware when we don't use our breath, and then you can change it in just a few minutes. Sometimes we might notice some thoughts or feelings coming up. And if something came up while we were focusing on the breathing and the tapping and something popped in your mind or you got emotional, then you have your next tapping target. So sometimes I use this breathing at the beginning of a session with clients. And if then an emotion does come up, it's like, okay, we have our MPI, our most pressing issue, and let's start there. And sometimes I also have people when they obviously work on themselves after the online training I do, EFT for self-healing. They ask, I don't know where to start. I've got so many things. And I say, start on the breathing and then see what comes up. Okay, right. So, quick question. What's the most common emotion that gets in the way of our well-being and in resilience? And what do doctors now acknowledge is killer number 1? Yeah, stress. Stress is such a buzzword. Everybody at some point is stressed about work, about life, about the world, about rushing, about finances. Stress is also often used together with overwhelm or with worrying. Worrying can lead to stress. When we're stressed, our body goes into fight or flight mode because we still have the same biology like our ancestors, the cavemen. Because if there was a tiger, saber-toothed tiger in the bushes, the alarm bell goes off in our brain and we don't have time to make a pro and con list. Shall I fight the tiger or run away or climb a tree? What would be the best situation? We almost lose some of the capacity of our logical mind when we are in fight or flight and when we're very, very stressed. So like I said before, with tapping, we just a few rounds of tapping, we calm our nervous system, we get out of that fight or flight mode, and then we can change our perspective, we can find a solution, and we can calm ourselves down. So I would like to do the next tapping session on the feeling of stress. So what I'd like you to do is take a moment to choose a specific tapping target. What are you currently stressed about? But think about something small, okay? No big T traumas, nothing major, because this is not a full therapy session. This is just a taster session to help you to understand EFT. If you've got something big, then please work with a practitioner. I just want to make sure that you're all safe. So choose something small. Name for yourself or locate a small stressor in your life. It could be like being worried about something going on, being annoyed, something that causes you a bit of stress. But it has to be something specific. So not something global about the whole world or generally about finances. It could be something, a specific project at work or an upcoming meeting with somebody you don't like or who pushes your buttons, or something like a specific thing that brings up the emotion of stress in your body. Think of something. And then tune into your body and see where in your body do you feel that stress or that negative emotion. It might be worry, it might be overwhelmed, you might call it stress. It doesn't matter what you call it, it's what you feel that matters. But then describe it by describing that feeling. So we think about a specific thing that causes us stress, and then we tune into our body and describe that feeling. So that's where the body mind connection comes in, because with our mind, we go into our body because our emotions are located in our body. Where do we feel that? It might be that tightness in the chest, it might be a knot in your stomach. So see if you can describe it. Because I might ask you, in the tapping sequence coming up, there will be some blanks for you to fill in. And I say, this feeling you might say, this tension in my shoulder, this tightness in my chest, this knot in my stomach. Okay, so just develop your own little reminder phrase. Okay, hope you've got something in mind there. And then give it a number. We did percentages before, but usually when we do EFT on a specific emotion, we use an imaginary scale from 0 to 10, a bit like a threshold, like a thermometer. So how much does that feeling bother you right now? When you think about that specific stress, where do you feel it? And then how intense is that feeling on a scale from 1 to 10? 0 being no stress at all, then you don't need tapping. And obviously, hopefully not 10, because that's very, very intense. We don't want that, not as a practice session. But if it's anything from like 3 to 7, is probably okay. If it's an 8, maybe do a few deep breaths to make sure you don't go over the threshold. And if you're not sure about the number, you can guess the number, or you can also use a range. It's somewhere between 5 and 7, or it's low, medium, high. Some people struggle with a number. So it can be low, medium, high, or it could be somewhere between 3 and 5, or between 6 and 7. Some people are really precise, like it's 4.5. Had people like that. That's fine too. Okay, there's a quick question here. Would this work on pain? Well, yes, EFT does work on pain, especially the suffering. We're talking about chronic pain, but I've, actually this morning I had a bit of a pain in my neck. So I slept funny and I did some tapping, and no, I'm absolutely fine, no problem. So it does work on quick things like that, but mostly it works on the suffering aspect of pain. But I have worked with people with chronic pain. I've seen really remarkable changes. So, but we're not covering that today. We do cover it in the one-day online course, though, that I offer on the 1st of March. I hope this answers your question. Right. Okay. Back to our stress. So we got our target. We've tuned into our body. We've got hopefully a little reminder phrase. What would you call it? Maybe give it a number from 1 to 10. And then while we do the tapping, focus on that tightness, on that tension, on that knot in the stomach. And for some people, it might be like, it feels like a black ball of anger in my stomach, or the stress is like really like feels like a black hole in my chest, or like in, this tension on my shoulder. So you can get very descriptive or you can be general, it doesn't matter. But remember, while we're tapping, if emotions get too much, then just stop and do your heart mouth breathing, into 6, out to 6, or into 4, out to 4, whatever feels appropriate. Okay, right. So we start again, side of the hand. Repeat after me. Even though I'm really stressed, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I feel stressed about, name your situation or your event, I accept myself and I'm okay. Even though I feel so stressed with this situation, and I feel it in my, where in your body, I accept myself and I'm okay. Okay. Top of the head, I feel stressed. And but tune into your body. Where do you feel it? Eyebrow. I'm so stressed out about this. Side of the eye. I can feel the stress in my body. Where in your body? Under the eye. All the stress in my body. Under the nose. I don't know what to do. Chin point and the lips. I wish things were different. Collarbone. I feel really stressed. Under the arm. I can't relax until this is resolved. Finger points. It's hard to breathe when I feel this way. Index finger. This feeling of being stressed. Little finger. All the stress in my body. Finger. I've been carrying it around for a while. Little finger. This stress. Just do another round quickly. I feel stressed. Top of the head. Eyebrow. I'm so stressed about this. Side of the eye. I can feel the stress in my body. Under the eye. All the stress in my body. Under the nose. I don't know what to do. Chin. I wish things were different. Collarbone. I feel really stressed. Under the arm. I can't relax until this is resolved. Finger points. It's hard to breathe when I feel this way. Index finger. This feeling of being stressed. Little finger. All the stress in my body. Finger. I've been carrying it around for a while. Little finger. This stress. Okay, take a deep breath. And another deep breath in. And let it go. Okay, so that's the first sequence. This time we're going to do another sequence, the second sequence. Remember the 3 steps? It's the setup statement, one sequence, break, another sequence. With the next sequence, we focus on what's left. So just for a moment, tune back into your body and just notice if that feeling that you identified earlier is still in the same place. If it wasn't not in the stomach, maybe it's moved up a little bit higher. Maybe if it was in one shoulder, it's moved to the other shoulder. Maybe it's still in the same place. So just tune into your body, locate that feeling we've worked on. Make sure you focus on it, and just in case it's changed. So we're going to continue with the tapping, just start another round, but we just say we still have the problem, this remaining feeling, okay? So side of the hand. Even though I'm still really stressed, I love and accept myself. Even though I still feel stressed about, fill in your blank. I accept myself and I'm okay. Even though I still feel so stressed with this situation and I can feel it in my body. I accept myself and I'm okay. Okay, top of the head. I still feel stressed. Eyebrow. I'm still so stressed about this. Side of the eye. I can still feel some of the stress in my chest or tummy, shoulder. Under the eye. There's remaining stress in my body. Nose. I wish things were different. Chin. But I still feel stressed. Collarbone. I can't relax until this is resolved. Under the arm. It's hard to breathe when I feel this way. Finger points. This remaining stress. Index finger. I wish I could let it go. Middle finger. Maybe I can let it go. Ring finger. There's remaining stress in my body. Middle finger. It is safe to let it go. Okay. Right, let's take a deep breath again. In and out. Another deep breath when you're ready. Right. Okay, and then just tune back into your body. Notice, has anything changed? And then measure the intensity level on your target, the specific stressful thought or situation or worry that you were working on. And then I'd like to ask you again to put your before and after number in the chat just to see if there's been any difference. Give you a moment to do that. And perhaps also think, while we were tapping, did any other thoughts or feelings coming up? That could be your target. Okay, so well, we've got 7 to 4, 7 to 4, 7 to 3, 6 to 4, 6 to 3, 8 to 6, 8 to 7, 5 to 2. Fantastic. Thank you. 8 to 4, that's a big shift. Well, thank you, everyone. 7 to 2, fantastic. So this has been a brief demonstration of EFT, and I said I'm aware of time. I am really sorry if I'm overrunning by a few minutes, but I'm so excited. I always get a little bit carried away. So I just wanted to give you obviously an experience of tapping. Um, if you had just even the slightest change, even going from a 9 to an 8 and feel a little bit better, bear in mind, again, we just did what 3-4 minutes of tapping. If you still feel very uncomfortable, please keep tapping or stop and do some of the heart mouth breathing so that before you leave, you are all in a comfortable position. Okay, I don't want anybody to feel overwhelmed or too emotional before we leave. Okay, so a few quick words on how to increase resilience by creating a new story. Like I said before, sometimes we can feel a bit stuck because we have certain stories that we tell ourselves, like, oh, I always do that. I'm too old. I could never. I'm unlucky. No, all these things, this always happens to me, all the always and nevers. Maybe start scanning when you talk to people or to yourself if you have any of those. But unhelpful stories can actually keep us stuck in a negative pattern. And we can release these old stories and negative events, like I said at the beginning. If you meet somebody and you feel negativity, or you get triggered by a situation because that's based on a past event, we can clear all of that and make really amazing changes with our lives. So by releasing old stories and negative events with EFT, we can feel more neutral and more positive about the future. And don't we all need that, especially these days? Because when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Okay, so just a few suggestions before we end. Some daily or weekly suggestions to increase well-being and resilience. So, like I said at the beginning, it would be great if you could improve your breathing with heart maths, like we did. Breathe into 6, out to 6. Focus on love, appreciation, or something you're grateful for, or the EFT, the constricted breathing, that the demo one that we did. Also, I recommend using EFT every day, especially in the evening. Anything that happened in the day that you're still carrying home from work, or if you had an argument, or if you saw something on TV that upset you, or you had a stressful phone call, it doesn't matter. But things do accumulate around the day or throughout the day. So don't take that with you to bed. Do some tapping in the evening. And if you don't know where to start, just do relax, release, and let go. Relax, release, and let go. Relax, release, and let go. I'm willing to release these emotions. I am open to relaxing. I'm letting it all go. Something like that. So you don't even need to focus on something specific if it feels too much. Obviously, it works better if you have a specific target. But if you're not really sure where to start, just do relax, release, and let go while focusing on how you're feeling and all that stress. Don't worry about the words, just feel the emotions and tap. And little bonus tip, about releasing the story with EFT. If you talk to a friend on the phone, sometimes we complain or we tell them about something upsetting that happened, just tap while you talk. If you're on the phone, maybe not on a video call or in person because people might think you're weird. Not everybody knows yet about EFT, but if you talk to somebody on the phone and you tell, oh my God, you can't imagine what happened and awful things, and then she said this and then they did that, just tap through your points while tapping. So that's also one way of releasing a specific story, but also generally the story. And we might tell ourselves about our life things that are not working. Okay, so Are you ready to take action? Because just knowing about EFT is not enough. You have to do something to make changes. So make a plan, write down your strategies to do at least some breathing or a little bit of tapping every day, every week. Set yourself a reminder on your phone, put it on the fridge, whatever your strategy is. It could be mindfulness or anything from the whole series. It doesn't have to be EFT, but do take action to help yourself. Use the free resources you're getting from, all of us, and I'll obviously provide some as well. And if you have deeper issues, then, please book a session with me or, with any other therapist to work on anything that's really bothering, like weird traumas and phobias and anything that is very, very high on that scale, because sometimes we can get emotionally overwhelmed when we're by ourselves. And I just want to make sure you're all safe and use EFT safely. But if you do want to learn more about EFT and experience more transformational changes where we do some longer sessions and really experience that, you can, if you like, join my next 1-day live online EFT training. It's level 1, it's EFT for self-healing. It takes place on the 1st of March. It is, like I said, online, so it doesn't matter where you are, but it's a whole day. And for all of you here today, or watching the recording, I offer a special discount. So this 1-day training is usually £150, but if you let me know you're interested and you use the code word resilience, that I know you were part of this workshop series, then you get it for £97 for the whole day. You can read more about it on my website, emotionalbalance.co.uk. You can find it under events, or you can email me, sandy@emotionalbalance.co.uk, and I can send you some more information. And if you don't want the course, that's absolutely fine. You can also look at some of my tapping videos. But if you do want to join the online course, you get those two for free. So there's a little bonus, like an extra £30 that you save if you wanted to do the online training with me. Okay, so that brings me to the resources. So I can send the resources out, I think, or Lauren can, or make them available to you, but you get the recording as well. But I'm happy to share those links. And yeah. Okay, so a few minutes over. I hope you don't mind. Are there any questions? Anything we've covered today? Okay, let me look at the chat if I missed anything. I'm really pleased with great results. There was a question about somebody coming late. Well, there will be a recording. So you, after the series finishes, I think you will all get the recordings of all the sessions. So yes, you can then catch up on the beginning. Oh yeah, Lauren already answered that. Thanks. Okay. Oh, yes, I can go back to the link site, but yes, these will be emailed, the resources, tomorrow. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the session and got a lot out of it. Yeah, if you want to know more about it, you can, like I said, you can get in touch with me. You can join my online course if you like. You can go to my website, emotionalbalance.co.uk. You can send me an email. You can book a session with me if you like. You can ask questions about EFT. Yeah, and I hope, you will use it and share it, because I want everybody in the whole world to use it because it's so effective and so wonderful. So thank you everybody for joining. Yeah, that's me, Sandy, all done for today. Have a nice evening. Bye bye.